Hello everyone, it has been a while since I posted on this channel because I've been very busy on my wildlife channel, Steph Wild. A while back though, I did promise you a video on how I grew live plants for Pearl, my Roborovski's enclosure, so here it is. To do this, I got a propagator seed tray kit as I wanted to grow the plants inside so that I could make sure that they didn't get polluted in any way and that they didn't attract any insects or anything that I didn't want to bring into Pearl's enclosure. I also got some organic cocoa soil, which is safe for hamsters because it contains no fertilizers or other chemicals. I got 2 packets of seeds, both organic again. One was chamomile and the other a type of ryegrass, both safe for hamsters. So to use the cocoa soil, which comes compressed in a block, you need to soak it in water until it expands. I underestimated how much it would expand, so I did end up switching to a much larger container halfway through this process. I then used this to fill each section of the seed tray, and I sprinkled the chamomile seeds in one half of the tray and the ryegrass seeds in the other half of the tray. Finally, I covered it with another layer of the cocoa soil, and then I put the lid on the tray, and then I put the tray in the window so that it would get sunlight on it. I kept the soil moist enough for the seeds to grow, and every so often I took the lid off and got some footage so that I could show you the progress of growing the seeds. The grass quickly outgrew the lid of the tray, and seeing that it was so well established, I decided to move that into Pearl's enclosure. The chamomile didn't actually get to a point where I could put it into Pearl's enclosure because I wanted it to be better established, and unfortunately it just began to wilt. As you will see if you have watched my video called Setting Up a Naturalistic Roborovski Enclosure, I use 2 different types of sand in Pearl's enclosure. One is Reptisand and the other is the Rodipet desert sand, and they both have different consistency, so I like to layer the 2 types of sand. As you will also see from that video, I have very deep sand in Pearl's enclosure, which she really enjoys digging in. So I planted the grass into the sand. It had the cocoa soil around the roots still, but otherwise it was planted in the sand. I then set up some sandstone rocks around the grass, and as you can see from the footage, Pearl really enjoyed exploring the grass. Something that I didn't manage to get video footage of, but I thought you would be very interested to know, is that as the grass grew and rooted into the sand, it gave the sand structure, and this meant that Pearl was able to actually create a bit of a burrow in the sand, which would have been impossible beforehand because it's just far too fine and would have collapsed in. With the grass roots though, the burrow did hold its shape, which I thought was really interesting because it gave a bit more of an insight into how Roborovskis in the desert do actually burrow in sand. Unfortunately, the grass did not survive for a very long time, and that's mainly because I was nervous of watering it too much because I didn't want Pearl's enclosure to become too damp. One of the reasons I wanted to plant in sand is because when I spot watered the plants that were in the sand, I knew that the water wouldn't spread out and make the whole area damp like it would if I was watering soil. However, the sand also meant that the water dried out very quickly from the grass, which meant that the grass just kept drying out. And because I was reluctant to water regularly, it eventually slowly died. So I did let the grass die. It died gradually, as I said, which meant that the burrow structure very gradually began to crumble. And it was only a very small burrow and Pearl wasn't living in it. So it was fine, it happened naturally and everything was fine. I think that this was a really interesting, yet of course very safe experiment to do. I also think that Pearl really enjoyed having the grass in the enclosure, and I would be interested to try the same thing, maybe within a container or something that can separate the area that might be slightly damper than the rest of the enclosure. I would love to create the most realistic enclosure possible for Pearl, basically like a desert environment. But of course, an enclosure, however large it is very different from a real desert. As I've said before, I really dislike the pet industry. I only ever have rescue hamsters, and my ideal would be that there were no hamsters at all as pets, that they were all in the wild where they should be. But as there are hamsters that are unwanted and needing homes, I will happily give them homes, whilst that is an unfortunate issue. So I hope you found this interesting. Let me know if you've had any success growing plants in your Roborovski's enclosure. Thank you for joining me in this video and for supporting my channel. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.